What's up, party people? We're back. This is the second part of the April mega haul from my BC trip. So yeah, if you haven't seen part one, please go watch that first. Yeah, let's just get going. So first up, we have a very unfortunately laminated copy of The Mysterious Island by Jules Verne. I hate it when libraries do that. They laminate copies to make them last longer. Fair enough. I guess kids like slobber on them or something, or people like bend pages. I don't know. And then of course the books get donated, and then they end up at the bookstore, and then I end up with a laminated copy. That's unfortunate. Anyways, this is supposed to be his masterpiece. Okay, Jules Verne, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Around the World in 80 Days. A few other famous ones in there. Okay, well-known sort of proto sci-fi writer. And this one, I think this is sort of like Swiss Family Robinson's style book, where people like end up on an island and they have to like survive. Anyway, pretty cool. I'll put them over here. Next up we have Wilkie Collins, The Woman in White. Okay, here it is here. Basis of the plot for this one, this young art teacher gives directions to a frantic, lost woman who's dressed all in white, who we later find out is escaped from an asylum. Wilkie Collins was a friend of Charles Dickens, and he kind of wrote in this like mystery, sort of detective, sleuthing genre. So he helped establish some of the conventions of that, so that's cool. Next up we've got Ronald Furbank. Not really too sure about him. I think he was American? No. I'm not sure if he was American or European. Influenced by Oscar Wilde, I do know that. And this is just a collection of short stories, so I can't really give a summary. Yeah. We've got Valmouth. Oh, can't say that. And then Concerning the Eccentricities of Cardinal Pirelli. So, yeah. Next up, we have a book by Maria Edgeworth, Castle Rackrent and the Absentee. The title story, Castle Rackrent, is about three or four generations of people who sort of inherit this castle and the different ways in which they mismanage the castle. And the story is told from the castle's steward, I guess. So one of those stories that spans multiple generations, which I quite like those. Yeah, Maria Edgeworth, I think 18th century? No, sorry. I think it was published on the turn of the century, like 1800. Yeah. Anyways, female Irish writer. Next up we have The Best of Saki. Saki sounds like an Eastern name, but in fact it was not an Eastern person. It was a British guy, but he was born in British India, I believe, and took the name from a poem that is either by or about someone from the East. I think that's why it sounds that way. Anyways, he was known as a short story writer, and yeah, I think this is a collection by Graham Greene, who's another famous writer. I don't know too much about him. I haven't collected any of his works, but I always see a lot of his stuff at the thrift store, so he must be pretty prolific. Here he's compiled The Best of Saki, so it's pretty short. Maybe I'll read that soon, but that's cool. Saki, of course, being a pen name, that's why it was stolen from a poem. His real name was Hector Munro. Yeah. Next up, we've got a book by Elizabeth Inchbald, and I only think she wrote like 2 books. I don't think she was like wrote that much. This is her book, A Simple Story. I think it's a coming-of-age novel. Sorry, I've got so many books in the stack here that I mixed them up in my head. But yes, wow, when Miss Milner announces her passion for her guardian, a Catholic priest, she breaks through the double barrier of religious vocation and society's standards for proper womanly behavior. So yes, coming-of-age novel and a romance as well. It's kind of in a rough shape on the cover, but that's all right. I bet it's got some good movement to it. Next up, we have a book by a Swiss, or two books, which I don't even think are books. I think they're just like journal entries, by a Swiss playwright named Stinberg. Now, apparently he hated Ibsen, who was a Norwegian Excuse me. The Norwegian playwright. Not really sure why they hated each other. Maybe just because Ibsen was better. Who knows? Maybe I just offended somebody. He wrote a lot. Strindberg wrote a lot of famous stuff. Miss Julie, The Red Room, The Father. And after he wrote all those things, he kind of had like this worry that he would never be able to create anything like that would match that level of like skill, and so he was kind of like just worried that he would never be able to write anything creative again. And so he starts like diving into the occult, and then has like a mental breakdown, and these kind of journal entries are at the end of his life where he's having this mental breakdown. So yeah, pretty interesting. I don't have anything else by Strindberg though. Like I feel like I should read his plays before I read this, but yeah. Yeah, this one's not too much to say about this one. Just a short story compilation by Hemingway. Of course, Hemingway being the famous American writer, For Whom the Bell Tolls. Come on, there's a few other famous ones that he wrote. Whenever I get on camera, I instantly blank my brain. Okay, he wrote For Whom the Bell Tolls. He wrote, is it The Sun Also Rises, or is that, no, that's somebody else. Oh man, I have to check this now, because this is embarrassing. You guys probably know. You don't even need me to look it up. Hemingway. My apologies, I try to remember these things. Yes, of course, he won the Nobel Prize. A Farewell to Arms. Yes, that's what I'm thinking of. And I got it right. The Sun Also Rises. Yes, that was his debut. Okay. But I think these short stories were his actual debut. Now, The Sun Also Rises is his novel debut. This is his short story debut in our time. We got a couple things from Forster, E.M. Forster. First is Aspects of the Novel. Now, I've actually read this already online, unfortunately, as a PDF. I wasn't too impressed by it, to be honest. Sorry. But I like to have physical copies of things that I've read, even if I've already read it. And E.M. Forster is collectible, so it was only $2. Why not? Oh, what is it about? Thanks for asking. It's about his breakdown on what constitutes like a good fiction book, a good novel. So he kind of walks like the student of writing through how to write a novel. The next thing we have is apparently his masterpiece, and that's Howard's End. Okay, I did read what it was about, and now I forget. The story of two sisters and their very different life paths. Why is it his best work? I'm not sure, but I guess we'll see when we read it. Now this is very unsatisfying. I apologize in advance. Now Jean-Paul Sartre, okay, famous for being in an open relationship with Simone de Beauvoir. He mostly wrote philosophy, but he did write some fiction, and he has a trilogy called, let's see if it says here, The Roads to Freedom. Now, I found it at the store for very cheap, 2 of them, but I couldn't find the first book in the trilogy. So I have The Reprieve, which I think is the second one. Right, here we are. And we have Iron in the Soul, which is the third one. But we don't have The Age of Reason, which is the first one, which is very unsatisfying. But I'll take what I can get, because I think they were like $2 each. Yeah, existentialist philosopher, won the Nobel Prize in Literature, declined it. Or was it the Nobel Prize for something else? I don't know. Anyway, famous guy. Next up, we've got Nathaniel Hawthorne. Now, he's famous as one of the OG American novelists for writing The Scarlet Letter, which deals with themes of, like, basically Puritanism, right? So, like, sort of religious repression, sin, guilt, etc. Now, this is very similar to The Scarlet Letter, and that's the House of the Seven Gables. Touches on many similar themes. I think it has to do with like witchcraft and exorcisms, and it's a psychological drama. So pretty interesting. When was it published? Yeah, it's like mid 19th century, I believe. I'm not exactly sure. Sometimes it says on the front cover. First published 1851. Look at that, right smack dab in the middle. I was right. Oops. Next up, we've got some sci-fi here. We've got 3 novels by none other than John Wyndham. Okay, I'll just blast through these. The first is The Trouble with Lichen. Next, we have The Kraken Wakes. And then lastly, we have The Midwich Cuckoos. This is one of those penny books, the orange and white ones. I love these. Yeah. Not too much to say about that. And then we also have a collection of George Orwell's essays, which I found for, what, $1. So, hard to say no. But Orwell was super prolific, and I've been collecting his stuff, and I don't even think I'm close to getting all of it. And I already have probably like 12 books by him, so, or no more, like 15. But yeah, he wrote a lot. Next up, we have The Essential Arasmus, which is a collection of Erasmus's writings. Okay, Christian Dutch humanist. Apparently, it says on the back, he's 4 centuries ahead of his time. He's famous for writing In Praise of Folly. But this edition also contains the Handbook of the Militant Christian, The Complaint of Peace, An Inquiry Concerning Faith, a couple others, and then the most important, Concerning the Eating of Fish. We gotta know if which fish are on the menu and which fish are off the menu. Maybe it's not even about fish, I don't know. But yeah, Arasmus. Next up, we have, I don't know, I kind of just impulse bought this because it's Penguin. I don't really know who this is. Georges Perec, Species of Space and Other Pieces. Apparently, this guy, French writer, he was part of a literary group of mathematicians that also like to write. I forget what it's called. It was like a weird French word, like oui boulou or something like that, where they did constrained writing. I don't know if you know what that is. It's when you put like it's like a literary device where you put constraints on what you're allowed to do. So for example, he wrote a book, it's in French, but it's translated as The Void, and it doesn't use any of the letter E in the whole book. And then he also writes a book, I think it's him, that the only vowel is the letter E. And there's no other vowels. So he's like a pretty smart guy if you're able to write that sort of constrained writing. That's crazy. I mean, The Void is 300 pages, so that's impressive. Now, this is just a collection of his random stuff. I don't know too much about it. Oh, look at that. Apparently it's May's staff pick at, I can only assume that's like Indigo or something. So thank you, May. Next up, we've got another book by Ombberto Ekko. Okay, he was famous for like The Name of the Rose or something about the rose. Also, we have his Foucault's Pendulum. Now, I also just picked up Misreadings, which is kind of him poking fun at the literary intelligentsia. Okay, so for example, he inverts or changes a lot of the famous texts. For example, the back cover says that he he writes an upside down Lolita. Like the character named Umberto pursues a granny with whitely lascivious, am I saying that right? Whitely lascivious locks. Lolita, of course, being the story of the pedophile who likes this 12 or 13-year-old girl. And in this version, he writes himself in there. Of course, the main character's name is Umberto. So maybe he's trying to tell us something, but he pursues a granny, which is very funny. Yeah, and then just other sort of, I don't know what you even call it, just like he kind of switches up famous books or tropes or plots or whatever. So I don't think it's too long, it's pretty short, but kind of an interesting, funny find. Next up, we've got, this is unfortunate, okay? Thomas A. Kempis, famous, I think, Augustinian monk, who wrote The Imitation of Christ, which is one of the most famous Christian devotional books of all time. I forget what century he's from, a long time ago. Anyways, I thought this was a separate book by him, The Inner Life. Actually, it's just an extract from The Imitation of Christ, so that's too bad. However, the cover is awesome. It's like embossed, like you can feel it, like it's like indented, which is very cool. So I think I'll keep this, or maybe I'll gift it to somebody. Who knows? Oh, look at that. I love finding things in books. There's like a bookmark of, where is that, Italy? I have no idea. Cool, I'll add that to my bookmark collection. Next up, we've got a book by Hermann Hesse. It's one of his lesser-known works. Hesse, of course, famous for Demian, Glassbead Game, Siddhartha, Narcissus and Goldmund. Okay, this one is lesser known. It's called Ross Halde. Now, he was Swiss or German or something like that, and kind of very influenced by like the Eastern ideas, as evidenced in Siddhartha. Now, this book, I'm not sure if it has as many Eastern influences. Apparently, there's a painter who has an empty marriage, but he loves his son, and it kind of traps him at this estate called Ross Halde. Yeah, that's all I know about it. But a lot of Hesse's books are bound in this same sort of like bold font. I think I have quite a few of them like that. So, oh yeah, there they are. Oh, I think I have only 4 of his books. I'm missing Demian, but I do have Beneath the Wheel. Next up, we've got one book that I'll probably not read for a long time. Just bought it because it's a piece of history, and that's Sutonius's The 12 Caesars. It's a historical account of the first? I'm not sure if the first. I think the first 12 rulers of Rome, from Julius Caesar to Domitian. Yeah, pretty interesting. Not sure I'll read that anytime soon, but yeah, great. Oops. Next up, we've got some Russian literature. Okay, we've got a signet classic of Leo Tolstoy, The Death of Ivan Illich. I believe this one is about a judge or some sort of legal person who has like a terminal illness, and it kind of is going through becoming acquainted with his mortality, the fact that he's going to die. Yeah, apparently Tolstoy and Dostoevsky are hard to find these days. People snap it up like crazy. So happy to find this. Although it is falling apart, unfortunately. There's like a section in the middle that's totally like basically unglued from the spine. So maybe I'll have to glue that back. I'm not sure how to do that. But next we found 2 pretty pristine copies of Dostoevsky at Value Village, which is kind of hard, kind of rare. For the first is The House of the Dead. Now, Dostoevsky was, what do you call it? Accused of political subversion and sentenced to 4 years of hard labor at a camp where he almost died. And this is sort of his semi-autobiographical or fictionalized account of his time at the labor camp. And then we've also got Crime and Punishment. Now, I don't want to say too much about this because I know at some point I'll read it and I'll make a full-length video on it. So for now, I'm just going to skip past it. But yeah, there's tons of videos online, people reviewing this book, very famous. Happy to find this as well. I already had a copy of Crime and Punishment, but it was one of those like ugly, like new editions where it has like that corporate artwork on the front, like, yeah, just like the ugly, yeah. So I'm replacing my copy with that one. Next up, we've got a book by Mark Twain. Okay, this is American author. I think, did he write Pudd'nhead Wilson? Right, and then of course he wrote Adventures of Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. Now, this is his book, Roughing It. He traveled all across America, meeting different people and getting into trouble. And this is sort of like a fictionalized account of his travels in America, telling a lot of tall tales, okay, perhaps not 100% truthful. But yeah, very, very interesting different vignettes of different places in America. So yeah, I'm excited to read this one. This is going to be cool. Yeah. Last up, we've got 2 books by W.M. Thackeray, who is a Victorian-era writer, kind of compared similar to Dickens, wrote these long, sprawling novels that kind of have these like lovable, memorable characters. The first is The Newcomes, which I believe is the last name of a family. It's kind of how a kid, or a guy and his son, kind of help the family rise to prominence and kind of gain wealth. Now this one, holy Hannah, look at this. That is so thick. I don't even know how many pages are in this. Oh yeah, well over 1,000. And if you flip through this thing, there's like, here's one bookmark. Here's a second bookmark. Here's a ruler. Okay, things have gone to die and been lost in this book. So apparently a few people have been giving this one a go, but didn't quite finish it. And yes, it is so thick. It was serialized in the newspaper over 2 years. So that's, talk about being invested in a plot. Yeah, that's crazy. I'm surprised they didn't publish this in 2 separate editions, because this is like insane. Anyways, maybe it looks smaller on camera, I don't know. It's very thick. And then lastly, we have Thackeray's The History of Pendennis. Pendennis. Here it is here. Thick, but not as thick. I think we're probably only around like 500 pages in this one. Oh no, almost 800. Just kidding. That's weird because the other one's 1,100, but it feels a lot thicker. I think this one was also serialized. What is this one about? I'm not really too sure, to be honest. I looked it up before I started, and I forget. Sorry, kind of a weak finish there. Sorry, guys. But yeah, like I said in my last video, part 1, I am thinking about maybe starting a book club, which would be open to the public. I'm considering charging for it, if you'd have to sign up for the newsletter. But maybe not. Maybe it'll be free. I'm not sure. We'll see how much interest we get. If there's no interest, then I won't charge for it. But if 100 people want to join, well then we got to figure something out, okay? Anyways, yeah, that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Tune in soon, okay? I'm leaving on a trip soon. I already mentioned that in a different video, but more information forthcoming. See you later.